There we go, all recording, thank you.
Right, can everybody put themselves on mute? Okay. Right, well, welcome to the June the 25th, 2024 Bus Advisory Board meeting. I'd just like to remind everybody present that this meeting is not subject to the 1972 Local Government Act and therefore can continue to take place virtually. It is only the board members that are taking part, taking the decisions at the meeting. Others in attendance are there to provide advice to the board. The agenda and papers have been published on the council website in advance of the meeting. The council will be making a recording of the meeting, and this will be published on the council's YouTube channel and website in due course. I'd like to highlight that today's meeting will be run virtually via Microsoft Teams. Other elected members and officials may remotely join the meeting to speak on specific agenda items or observe. Other members of the public and partners can observe the meeting remotely via Microsoft Teams. There is also some provision for any members of the public to speak at the meeting via the public questions or statements that they have submitted in advance. And just to make the running a bit better, please use the meeting chat function only for the purposes of the meeting, primarily to indicate to the chair that you wish to speak. Please only speak at the chair's invitation after you raise your hand virtually. Please say your name before speaking. Please note the importance of turning off microphones and cameras when not speaking. Okay, so first point, we're going to go to apologies. So Helen, do you have any apologies?
Yes, hello. So we have apologies from Tony Rees, who's the Vice Chair of the Bus Users and Stakeholders Group, Councillors Sunita Mills and Darren Hewlett of Dartline Coaches. Thank you.
Okay, I'm here now.
Oh, who's that speaking? Sorry.
Tony Rees.
Tony. Tony, right, I'll take you off the apologies list. Thank you, Tony. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so minutes of the previous meeting held on the 30th of April. I'm just going to request approval of the minutes unless anybody has any alterations they'd like to point out. I don't see any. Hang on, I'll tell you what, I haven't got my chat up yet. Don't see any. Could somebody propose the minutes?
I'll propose the minutes.
I'll propose them, Richard.
Okay, and I think that's seconded as well by the sounds of it. So we'll take that as approved. Okay, so now we head into public question time. The first question was submitted by William Green. Is he on the call?
No, I don't believe he's attending. So if you could read it out, or did you want me to? Or
I'll tell you what, if you read it out and I'll answer, if that's okay. Have you got it? Have you got it there?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Okay. So William has said, I live in Coxley, I think it said, and frequently catch the 374 and 375 bus service. I've noticed many of them seem to show the wrong destination on the front of the buses. I often see Glastonbury or Wells written on the front of the buses going to Bristol or heading off to Taunton and Bridgewater. Can this please be changed, as people are finding it very confusing, with some thinking they have to change bus?
Okay, and just in response to say that we at Somerset Council have raised this with First West of England and asked them to review their destination displays. Okay, we have a question from David Redgewell next. Hello.
Hi, Richard. Thank you. Morning. I was asked to raise a question, obviously, by the Deauville group. And they're just wanting to know there's a lot of discussion about the possibility of some temporary toilets with the development of the Oval bus station and all the works shopping centre. I mean, you are aware there's being made for this.
You're breaking up quite badly, David. Unless that's just
can
me.
you hear me now? Is that any better?
Think
Is
so.
that any better?
That's better for
Yeah,
me. I
just
can
say
hear
yeah.
you
So
better.
Councillor Dance raised it before the election. So obviously I appreciate we're in Purdah now, but we just wondered whether there was any progress with any interested parties, both the Somerset Transport Authority or other interested business or the Town Council, in obviously some temporary toilets and disabled toilets at Yeovil bus station until such time as obviously the redevelopment plan comes forward and works start to happen on the shopping centre. So I think that is the question that the Yeovil group and the Dorset bus users asked me to raise. Thank you.
Okay, I'll answer that now and then. Obviously the toilets had to close due to the council's financial position following a decision taken at full council that related to all toilets, and the town council not being able to take this on. As you know, Councillor Dance, Linda Snelling of the Bus Partnership, Peter McNaughton and James Eustace of First worked really hard to get the waiting room kept open for the time being. And they are still working hard to identify and secure funding. However, at this point, we're not aware of any available funding for temporary facilities at present. Okay. And I believe you've got a second question, David.
I haven't got that one in front of me, so
okay.
Sorry, it was
but
one.
Perhaps I'll ask Helen to read it for you.
Yeah, sorry, these were asked on behalf of the Yeovil group, Richard. So I obviously volunteered to take these forward.
Yeah, no worries. Helen. Hello. Oh, I think she might be looking for the question. I'll tell you what, I'll read it.
Yeah, no, I'm here. Sorry. I was on mute and sort of half looking at the question, but here we go.
Okay.
So the second question is, in view of the issues of reliability and punctuality on Somerset bus and coach network, what discussions are taking place with Somerset Highways Authority, North Somerset Council Highways Authority, Baines, North Somerset Council Highways Authority, Baines Council Highways Authority, West of England Mayoral Combined Transport Authority and Bristol City Council Highways Authority over roadworks and divisionary routes for bus and coach services and shuttle buses servicing the village cut off from the bus and coach network. An example being the Bristol Bus and Coach Station to Bristol Temple Mead Station, Totterdown, Knowle, Hengrove, Whitchurch, Pensford, Clutton, Farrington, Gurney, Chewton Mendip, Wells Bus and Coach Station, Glastonbury Street, Walton to Bridgewater Railway Station and Bus and Coach Station and Taunton Town Centre, the 374, 375 and connection at Wells Bus and Coach Station for Glastonbury Street, Somerton, Ilchester and Yeovil Bus and Coach Services 77. Sorry, I stumbled over that a little bit. I haven't read it through.
Okay, so there is something. Each highway authority should publish a list of forthcoming planned works, which can be used to identify any works or road closures of concern. Within Somerset, all planned road closure routes are published via One Network, which many neighbouring authorities also use. One Network also makes it possible to set up route alerts for when works take place on specific parts of the network, so the works promoter or highways authority can then be contacted if there are any concerns. When a road closure within Somerset takes place that requires the use of another neighbouring authority's network, that authority is already contacted to ask if their network is available for use and vice versa. So so to ensure that there are no overlapping closures or works that would cause network issues. Somerset in turn is also informed of any road closures that require the use of its network by our neighbouring authorities. The bus operator also has an ownership role to play in regularly checking and identifying any works on routes of concern to the relevant highways authority, such as if a route used in the example provided from Bristol Temple Meads to Taunton is affected. Discussions can then take place to see if any changes can be made to these works with the relevant highway authorities. Okay, now I know that you submitted another question, David, and there will be a written response to that. And we also had
thank you, Richard. So I was going to say, just to thank you for that, and just to flag that issue of that bus route. Thank you, Helen. That's Rose, part of Rose's Wells group have asked me to raise. The problem we have there is those buses we've just talked about, Richard, are getting regularly diverted well away from the route, and people on the route are being left without bus services. So that's why we'd ask the Somerset authorities, the three of you plus WECA, to have some conversations about this, because it is becoming very concerning. Thanks for the work you've done by the A39 and between Glastonbury and Wells in trying to keep that road open. But it is a if you could raise it on a sort of pan Somerset level, I think we'd all be very grateful. Thank you.
Absolutely. We did have some late questions, and we're not going to take them at this part because we just didn't have enough time to get a proper answer, but there will be answers to them in due course. I think there's some holiday coming up, so it may be a couple of weeks yet, but I think that concludes public question time. So we're on to the bus service improvement plan, our favourite BSIP update from Natasha.
Thank you, and good morning everyone. Natasha Bates, Service Commissioning Manager for Passenger Transport within Somerset Council. So just to give a very quick update on where we are with the BSIP, the Bus Service Improvement Plan. So following approval through the Council's internal governance, the final version of the BSIP for 2024, that review was submitted to the DfT to meet the 12th of June deadline, and a copy should be available shortly on the Council's webpage. It's kind of in the work programme for our web team to do, so hopefully that will be there very soon. Councils were also required to submit a bus connectivity assessment by the 12th of June, which I'm pleased to say we also managed to complete and submit by the deadline. So having met both of those targets, the final tranche of BSIP funding for 24-25, which is the funding we knew we were getting, will now be released. So that's really good news. And I think it's fair to say a huge amount of work went into both of these pieces of work, so the BSIP and the BCA. And so thank you to everyone who engaged in the process and provided us with some really valuable feedback. We really appreciate all the engagement we had. And also thank you to our operators who I know had to provide large amounts of data for both of those. And so we appreciate everything they did in trying to get that data through to us on time. We understand that the BCA is likely to be an annual process. So what we'll do is we'll build that data requirement into our quarterly data requests for BSIP and SISTRA. So then hopefully for operators, it'll be much more manageable and we can request data in smaller chunks rather than asking for a whole year at a time. So we'll get that sorted from our end. And really just to say again, thank you to everyone involved. It was a really great achievement to get everything done and submitted on time. And then we'll just see what happens kind of later in the year in terms of what they do around BSIP and any further requirements. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. I think we've got a question from Dave. Who have we got first? Dave Mansell.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Thank you,
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, if I may ask, I did have I've missed the the very final version, but I did see a further draft. I raised last time that about many of the policies, many of the what's in the plan refers to the core network, but I couldn't find any definition of what the core network was. Did that get addressed in the final version? If not, I do feel there does need to be some explanation of what the core network is, or otherwise it's not possible to understand many parts of what the plan's trying to do, which routes are covered. Thanks.
Tasha?
Yep, thank you. I think, as I explained at the last bus advisory board, the core network will be kind of established and developed as the local transport plan is developed, because it's supposed to reflect the local transport plan. So as that emerges, we'll do more work on the core network, and the BSIP for this kind of time round wasn't a bidding document. It was just setting out some aspiration in terms of what we'd like to achieve. So when we get to the next stage, if there is a bidding document, we will have that local transport plan and we'll be able to develop that core network further. And I think you talked about understanding the kind of the core network and then the secondary routes and where those were serving. So that will hopefully flow from that piece of work as well.
And quickly, we got David, I think.
All it was to flag, and obviously we're in a PERDA period, but also flag that I think, Natasha, we're heading for a 3-year financial settlement for local government and for buses and public transport. So just to flag the fact there's probably a piece of work, Richard, to do to make sure we got something available for the autumn. I was at a seminar which the DfT had an officer at, and that was the indications we were getting. So yeah, just that's all, just to flag it up.
I can assure you that we're working to find any funding we can, and we're very much on top of that, David. But this particular document was an aspirational document, and it was set out to be that from the DfT in the first place. I think that's right, isn't it, Natasha?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further questions, we'll move on to our favourite bit, which is the timetable changes proposed for the 2nd of September 2024. And I'd like to invite all the operators. Now, please jump in if I forget you, because I remember last time I missed an operator. I can't remember which one, but I missed an operator, and that didn't go down too well, I think. Yeah, I think we'll start with First West of England, if they're on. Anybody's on from there?
Well, we've combined ourselves with Southwest if they want to go before us, because they're at the front of the slides.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my mistake.
We've shared it this time. We've joined up properly.
Fantastic.
Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. So I'm Rebecca Mantig, the Operations Director for First South. So just to give an overview just on where we are currently. So with regards to passenger numbers across Somerset, we are slightly up on last year, albeit difficult to judge with the bank holidays and how Easter fell this year. For the £1.50 fare, albeit it was introduced on the 1st of June, so it's still very early days. However, no material impact we're seeing across some passenger numbers since it was introduced, so they continue to be up year on year, circa of 12%. We haven't seen a large change in the fare mix, so with singles still accounting for largely around 70% of that. In terms of Terence, I don't know whether you want to put up the slide. So moving to our customer lost miles. That's super. Thank you, Terence. So we have seen improvements in customer lost miles over the past few weeks. This has been possible due to many incentives, such as that we have had a change of management across our engineering function across Somerset. We've had additional vehicles from other parts of the South business coming to Somerset. Improvements we've also seen with regards to the supply chain as well for engineering parts that has enabled us to get a large number of vehicles off road back onto the road. We've kept our spare vehicle as well in Yeovil, and we've also got a mobile engineer. I think on top of this is really good thing to share as well. So we're still working in closely in partnership with the council, but also the bus user groups, listening and acting on their feedback, which is really important to us when we are shaping the network ongoing. We've also rolling out a leadership programme that's being rolled out to our supervisors across Somerset, with the focus of being delivering the brilliant basics day in and day out to our customers. So albeit we've got a way to go still, we're certainly moving in the right direction, and that's being led and daily monitored by Peter McNaughton, who is the operations manager across Somerset. So Terence, if I can ask you to go on to the timetable changes.
Can I just jump in before you? Could you just let us know what the date is of week 1 on that graph?
Terence, you're on mute. It's the start of the financial year.
Right, so April.
It's
Yes,
April.
the first week of April.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, Terence.
Okay, thanks, Becky. All right, so in terms of changes that we're proposing for the network, we've been working with the Somerset Bus Partnership as well as the council on this one. So some of the things that we're trying to do for the September timetable change is to extend the Service 7 to start back at the station. So currently the Service 7 runs from North Street all the way down to Garmington, and the revised route would take us operating to the station. As a result of this, what we'll have is we'll have a frequency change operating every 75 minutes instead of every 60 minutes. So, but it will still have the connection to the station to allow people to, to have that ease of mobility across the regions in that space. In addition to this, we're looking to, with again working with the council and the bus partnership, looking to reestablish the links into Melverton. Now, apologies, previously I believe I advised the partnership that this would go anti-clockwise coming into Melverton, but the Service 25 will come in and go in a clockwise manner into Melverton and then back on to the B322 going on to Wiveliscombe and Dulverton in that sense. Further changes that we're planning to introduce is around reinstating after customer complaints, and again we're working with Peter and Linda, the partnership, reinstate the 1630 service on a Saturday for the 28A that serves Taunton to Minehead. This will replace the current 1600 service that we have, but not serving Norton Manor Cam. And outside of this, where we're currently looking at enhancements to the service to improve the start time adherence or the reliability metrics. So this will be for Service 2 that goes to Taunton and Priors Wood, where the start time adherence is currently at 74% on average for the first 3 periods of the year, where we need it to be at 95%. That's always our target that we're aiming for. Similarly with the 4s, currently at around 75%, so we need to improve reliability by about further 20%. Similarly with the 6, we're there or thereabouts, but we need some tweaking. But this will come, and this is a consequence of the changes that we've done to Service 7. And on the Bridgewater end, we're looking at improving the reliability of Service 14 and finally improving the reliability of the X22 that goes to Tiverton bus station. Now, as you can see, the start time adherence isn't where we'd like it to be, but this is why we're doing a lot of work to try and improve the reliability of these in the first instance. Happy to take any questions on the proposed changes or any feedback on it.
I do have Dave Mansell, but I'm going to just ask a question on reliability, which I know you've been working hard on, in particular with numbers of drivers, which I think you've worked done some sterling work to increase that and make sure that isn't an issue. But I would point out that yesterday I drove past a broken down 54 bus in Vantage, and I just wonder whether first, where buses have quite long gaps between them, and it's a 2-hourly gap between the buses on the 54 compared to say a 15-minute bus, whether the sort of more reliable buses could hit the sort of those areas, or whether you would consider that as a policy in the future. But I'll leave that hanging and go on to Dave to ask a question.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Very good news on the 25 that it will be going back into to Milverton, which has just caused so many problems that and it's understandable because there's a road closure, but that there's now been a way to get the bus back into Milverton. So very pleased and do say thank you to everybody who's been involved in getting that sorted out. Could I ask, it doesn't seem to involve a timetable change. Could that be implemented straight away, or how soon can that actually be started? Does it need to wait for September, or can it be done before? Because at the moment, all the Milverton passengers are stuck. They have to walk out to the roundabout on the main road down a short country lane, which is pretty dangerous to get to the bus. So the
Hi, Dave.
Sorry, Dave.
Can I just jump in there? As far as the timetable goes, there's no need to change the timetable. We're already in a situation where the comms are ready for staff. From an operational point of view, we can do this as soon as physically possible. Terence will be able to give you a bit more advice as to when he would be ready to go, because as soon as the network is ready, I'm ready. If that helps.
Yeah. So to put a add on to that question, I appreciate that we put these on for September, but looking at it internally, we do believe that some of these can be done sooner rather than later because of the benefit it provides to the community. So what we'll be doing, and apologies for this. Richard, Natasha, and John, we'll probably be knocking on your door in the next couple of days to advise on which services we can potentially bring forward as a result of the wider benefits it produces.
Can I bring in John on that? Because
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's ready for this yet. John, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, Richard. Yeah, I don't see an issue with that, particularly with the 25, because as Peter points out, it is registered already to effectively serve the area. So I think if these are minor timing changes that improve the reliability, then I don't see an issue. And I don't think we would need to support short notice in the case of 25, but we can check that and have that conversation. So it's a benefit to passengers. So we will always look at things at short notice. If it benefits passengers, then we're happy to try and get things in earlier. Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, John. And again, apologies for putting you on the spot there. This is one that we're taking up with yourself afterwards.
And I think we got Tony who wants to ask a question.
Thank you, Richard. Just a couple of quick questions. The slide that's on the screen now for enhanced reliability talks about the 2, the 4, the 6, the 14 and the X22. Doesn't actually say what's changing and what you're doing to try and achieve the target 95%. Is it just improved reliability and better buses, or other changes to the timetable involved in that? And my second question, which I might as well raise at the same time, 75 minutes on the 7 is going to be very, very confusing for passengers. We do like hourly services. I know what you're doing is extending the service, and therefore without spending any more, it's difficult to do it without extending the time, but a 75-minute service is going to be very difficult to promote.
Okay. Let me tackle the questions in the order that you raised them, Tony, if that's all right. So
Okay.
in terms of the reliability aspect of things for the 24 and X22, at present we're exploring all options to see what we can do to this. So this is primarily looking at enhancing the timetable, perhaps reviewing the times, but in terms of the revision of times and revision of resources, i.e. perhaps better, more reliable buses on there. This is something that is an ongoing piece. So to tell you that definitively we'll be doing, we'll put in this one or changing that, we can't do at this stage. However, as soon as we have clarity on it, we'll share that with yourselves. Coming to your point in terms of the enhancements to 7. Yeah, fully appreciate the challenge that you brought on, that the extension to the service of 75 minutes, or 15 minutes, sorry, is going to be difficult to promote because it's not fitting into the hourly pattern. However, this is the ideal thing that we can do at this time to promote that connectivity within the region. If there is a means of us, reducing the time, to enhance the connectivity, to maintain it to hourly, we'll do so. But at this stage, this is the best option that we have. So what I would ask is that you bear with us at this point until we can see further enhancements to this later on, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I've got David Redgewell, but before I go to David, just to note that David Norvey and Barry Childs have written some comments in the chat. And I just could you take those comments away with you and maybe respond in due course onto those questions. I'll bring in David now.
Okay.
Yep, thank you, Becca. Thank you, Terence. The issue I want to raise really is the capacity on the 28. I've travelled recently a few times coming down on cross-country trains. Now Rich is on the call as well. So the train journey has been okay, but on occasions I've tried to travel to Minehead and I've been surrounded by suitcases and I've been surrounded, by luggage everywhere in my wheelchair. There seems to be a capacity problem with the street decks buses, and I wonder whether this is being looked at with regards to adding additional vehicles, particularly on the Butlins turnarounds. But mine is very, very busy. It's obviously got contracts with First Great Western, which is also a first company, of course, and also with the Cross Country, and of course the National Express passengers were on there. And when you've got all them on there, as well as the locals, in a wheelchair, it's a very difficult situation. I just wondered if the capacity on that route can be looked at. I welcome the X28, but I just wonder whether the X28 should actually call at the station and then go fast via the link road, because I think there needs to be a conversation between First South and First Great Western Railways over this, and probably cross-country trains, to see where we are with this route. But I don't know whether Rebecca's got any extra vehicles that we put on there when it comes to, in the past, we used to step up vehicles from First Bus to First Great Western to deal with that route. But if that can be looked at, I think it's just a bit more than just the changing one time. We certainly do have an issue of capacity on that service. Thank you.
Hi, David. If I could just quickly come in there for a moment. I totally agree with you. We did back in April bring in the direct services on the 28 to help with the capacity. When we look to the future with these new electric vehicles coming in, we're going for the largest vehicles possible. We're already looking at the spec for the luggage capacity, but I think your point of making it a direct service, we need to take away. So I'll have a chat with Terence and see if that's actually a viable situation that we can do for you.
Just going back to group, and I will raise this with Janet at the AGM, but can we look at what we've done in Bristol? I know Bristol's on the call as well. where we've got 2 wheelchair spaces, Peter, on the Somerset buses. We do on, believe it or not, Richard, we do on the Burnham-on-Seas have 2 wheelchair spaces on the 20, but that's the only route in Somerset. But if that could be looked at as part of the specification, that would make my life a lot easier with the wheelchair spaces if we specified 2, like the First West of England fleet. That would be good.
I'd be happy to take that away as well. So we're looking at the spec now. So we know we've got a 42 passenger capacity. We know we've got luggage space for around 30 bags. So let me take that away, David, and I'll feed back into you. Thank you.
And I'll just point out you need to keep John Parrott in the loop with anything you thinking about with the X28.
No, well good.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
I'll hand over to Dan and George now, if that's all right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, by the way, Terence.
Thank you, Richard.
Rebecca and Peter.
Let me grab the same PowerPoint. Yeah, it works. Okay, advance the slide. It's not the sun's on the screen here. Right. So we'll start off with Frome. So our punctuality has been improved on the all days of operation. A bit more time and a bit more time taken out in the evening to speed them up a bit. We've managed to get buses between Bath and Frome Marketplace closer to every 30 minutes as opposed to the 40-45 minute combined frequency we got at the moment. We've not changed the evenings or the Sundays, revised the times, but departure times broadly the same. I think Saturday nights get pushed back a bit because they're a little bit busier. We've taken 7 trips Monday to Friday, 7 trips on Saturday and 4 trips on Sunday out of road. That gives us the ability to run them a little bit faster and get the frequency up between Bath and Frome where most of our passengers are boarding. We've also amended the D2 to not serve Critchhill during the day, so that knocks time off so that we can get the frequency up. So these villages between Bath and Frome will get more frequent buses, more closer to every hour as opposed to every 80-85 minutes that they get current. The morning trips and the evening trips will still extend to Critchhill because that's where most of our people are boarding. Then we move on to the D2X. So the D2X will operate the old fast way up the Butts to Critchhill and then service Critchhill coming back towards Bath, which is where we find most people use the bus in that direction. And then as it heads back to Bath, instead of turning right onto Berkeley Road past the football field, it's going to go straight on and then swing left onto Stonebridge Drive, turn right at Tesco's, serve up the middle, and then go left up Clink Road and then serve Commerce Park on the way back into Bath. Still in discussion on whether bus stops go that way. So by doing this, the D2X does miss out Beckington, but it will still get all of Brunel Way served and provide a faster journey into Bath. So we hope that those plans will be welcomed by people in Frome. Any questions on Frome before we move on to the Bath corridor? Nope. So 171, 172, 173 and 174. We've done a revision of the punctuality on all days. We've jigged the departure times around to try and improve spacing coming into Bath. The Blue School 173 trip, due to the retiming of journeys, won't come back to Wells Bus Station after serving the Blue School, just head straight into Bath. So I hope that means the kids get a bit of a faster bus home. Midsummer Norton High Street has bus stops going in on the High Street rather than the end of the High Street. Those works are expected to finish around the 1st of September, so hopefully from day one we're using the new bus stops. There'll be a nice little interchange there. We space bus that into Bath every 10 to 15 rather than a flat 12, just trying to improve the timings. We've withdrawn some early and late trips from Wells on the 173, 174 and replacing the 171s. We're not finding any passengers on some trips boarding between Wells and Midsummer Norton, so it makes sense for us to operate the quicker route straight down to Midsummer Norton. Sunday, we've currently got the 522 and the 174 coming to Bath 2 minutes apart, so they're now spaced out to 30 minutes bang on. So we've doubled the frequency currently. So that mistake's been ironed out, and the spacing into Bristol is also better to be a 15 than what it is at the minute. Any questions on Wales to Bath corridor? No. Very good. 55. Morning trip now gets into Strode 11 minutes earlier. And then in the afternoon, at least 10 minutes earlier. So hopefully, overall, no change. They will get home sooner, which should be nice and welcome for the students. The punctuality changes have taken 10 minutes off the trip time for the one in the afternoon. But hopefully that bus will be able to speed up and not sit around waiting while everyone tries to get off, as it does at the minute. Next one up is the Wellesley bits. So let's get a bit confusing. So the basis of this is that the 374 and the 375 come out of Windmill Hill. So we get a lot of issues with our big buses getting stuck with cars, hitting trees. I think last week we had one window out and one bus got stuck for about 40 minutes waiting for someone to move their car. So that basically means there is no service while that happens. So we've used the little bus that we use for the 55 to operate new service 373, which will go between Wells and Street using the route of the 376 in Street up to Crispin Hall and Green Lane Avenue, but that will serve Windmill Hill. So that I just do that route backwards and forwards 10 times a day on a more suitable vehicle, which also means it won't ever get affected by Bristol traffic. So if Bristol carnage happens, 373 should be the most reliable bus we operate in Wales. It will always keep chugging around. It does reduce the number of journeys a day, but I think people generally appreciate that that's probably the sensible thing to do. It means you get a consistent service on the fast buses out to Bridgewater, Yeovil and Taunton, and the little bus does the little roads. We've extended the 376 down to Yeovil. So when you see the 77 is withdrawn, it's not bad news. The number's just changed. So hopefully that'll be welcome with people changing at Bristol. What we got? By nipping out of Windmill Hill, we also changed the split registrations on these services so that everything terminates at Wells on paper. That means that the front of the bus can display Wells, then Bridgewater, Wells, then Taunton, Wells, then Bristol. And we can make it a bit bigger because Wells is nice and short, as opposed to Glastonbury that's long and got a Y in it. So that should clear up the problems we've had with the displays not really being too clear. The buses do go through to Bristol without having to change. What have we got? So we have spaced them out between Wells and Street to be more 30 minutes-ish. The 373 does sit on top of some of these buses. I don't think we can really move that around too much. We've had a look with John and the bus group at the spacing of the 373 with the other bus that goes up round Windmill Hill. I think there's one trip that goes together, but the rest of them is pretty evenly spaced. That should be quite nice. We've had to nip off the last trip down to Yeovil from Wells due to only 2 or 3 people using the trip there and back. However, the last one that terminates in Somerset, Somerton, will meet the 54. So that you can still make the journey. You'll have to just change the bus in Somerton. And then the bus that was proposed to run dead down to Yeovil in the morning, we've introduced 376X. So that goes straight down the main road to Yeovil, meaning that it can still carry people, but we don't waste any time deviating off the main route and kind of strike a nice even ground with getting the bus there quickly and still serving where we need to go. Any questions on our Bristol to Somerset corridor?
I'll jump in to start with. I know that the change from the 77 to the 376 is welcomed by some people, but raises a lot of concerns about reliability and the changeovers at Somerton. So I'd just like to put out there that we will be monitoring your claim that the 373 is going to be the most reliable bus. But I'd like to just put in that service, the 376 and the changeover will be very closely monitored, and there'll be a wish that you certainly keep up reliability on those particular routes. So I'll just put that out there. I've got David Redgewell.
Just quickly, Rich, so the 376 in Taunton gets somewhere between 30 and I think 50 minutes on a couple of trips to sit in Taunton. So they arrive and leave Taunton near enough within a minute or two of each other. So when you look at the timetable, the buses aren't spinning around. They will sit there for about 40 minutes. So we hope that will mean the reliability from Taunton up, if anything does happen in Bristol when they get delayed, will be spot on. They shouldn't ever leave.
I think
Taunton
I'm the 376, the Bristol Wells Yeovil one I'm in particular.
Yeah. Yeah, Wells, Yeovil, sorry, not Taunton, Yeovil, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Oh yeah, go on, David.
Certainly, Dan. Certainly, we welcome most of the transport users welcome the providing the reliability and punctuality, agreeing with Richard, can be maintained. She's not on the call, but Sarah Warren and Fiona would say the same from Baines and Bristol. But in terms of regional connectivity, we obviously do have work by Western Gateway and Peninsula to try and create regional bus services, and a lot of work going into both coach and bus, and this does fill a gap. First Great Western run trains to Yeovil, but they're to Weymouth. They're very, very spasmodic 3-hour gaps. It's not an hourly service, although there's aspirations by Peninsula and Gateway to do that. But the buses between Yeovil and Bristol, bringing that service back. We've always wanted that to come back when Wells Depot took over. This is nothing new. None of this is new. I mean, when I lived in Wells, we were doing this regularly, and we didn't have reliability and punctuality problems. We just stepped up buses, and Wells maintained and managed it. So this is not new. This is first just going back to where it was in Badgerline when it ran these services through to Yeovil, connected to Taunton, and ran to Bridgewater. So we do welcome this. Hopefully there'll be a commercial business case to build traffic, because I think there's real pent-up demand between Yeovil and Bristol and Wells, Gaspian Street with a through service. I mean, I watched this myself, sat there with others. And we've watched the people changing between Yeovil and Bristol. So people are going through today as we speak. Passengers are going through Somerton. So this is certainly a welcomed view by First Group in this. What we would like to see is marketing and promotion by First South and First West of England, First South, of course, controlling Yeovil bus station, to make sure these direct links are marketed. I share Peter's view, Richard's view about making sure the 373 goes around the estate. I know Windmill Hill's one of the most deprived estates in Somerset. In fact, in the southwest, believe it or not, that's one of the most deprived areas of social deprivation. And making sure there's a bus service to that area is very, very important. And obviously, I hope there's plans, as Richard said, to make sure we've got step up at Wells Bus Depot if buses are running particularly late and vehicles can be put into the diagrams to go forward. I was asked to raise by users, Richard, in Wells and in Peasdown and Radstock Midsummer Norton, the reliability and punctuality of some of the services on the corridor between Wells and Bath in the evenings have been worrying us at the minute, Dan. I wonder if that can be looked at with Thomas. Some services have been cancelled, some have been dropped. I've got a list. And passengers are now beginning to contact me because, as you know, sitting on this panel, but I'm also WECA's bus passenger representative with North Somerset. So it's coming at me both directions. So I wonder if that can be possibly picked up by the team to have a look at. But I certainly welcome this. The other question I'll say, I noticed First South runs some workings on the 374. Is that going to continue? I know they've got a working on there. And of course, if we get, and when we get, and I am pushing First Group, trust me, as high as I can, the highest level, and I will begin in 2 or 3 weeks' time to get Yeovil Bus Depot sorted out, facilities when Recklesford Swaney closes. But I hope there's some facility at Yeovil where if we need to step up vehicles, First South can help as well, because the situation seems to work quite well in Taunton. But is our South still going to continue to run that service? And then the issue is, coming back at me again, is just this issue of making sure First South and First West, Wells and West divisions talk about ticketing in Somerset and integrated ticketing and making sure we've got these.
I think you've put quite a few questions in there, David. But on the main ones, I think there is concern around I forget which bus route it is exactly. It might be one of the Wells ones over the sides of the buses and again leaving passengers at the roadside. So just please make sure that you're looking into that.
So yes, I'll try and answer some. So I think the concerns have subsided mainly on the 77. So by doing these changes, that becomes a double decker on the 376. So that should solve all our overcrowding, because everything will be a double decker apart from the 55 and the 373. What else did you mention, David? We can look into the cancellations and the evenings, and there was something else.
It was whether First South are still going to provide vehicles on the 374, which they're doing at present.
Yeah, so their journeys stay the same. I think we'll have to have a conversation over the 54 to see if we can space that out better with the new 376 down to Yeovil. I don't think we'll be able to step our vehicles up with theirs because of the ticket machines and all the different logins. But maybe that we stick a spare machine down in Yeovil or something. And I'm sure we can work better together.
Okay. I'm going to go to Tony.
Very quick question on the 376 and extending it all the way and all the worries we have about reliability. But given that they will spend a serious amount of time in Yeovil, would there be time without disrupting the reliability of extending it down to Yeovil Penmill Station? We do desperately need buses at our railway stations in Yeovil, and would it upset the idea of planning for unreliability to actually spend a few minutes just getting down to the station and back?
Hold on, I'm just seeing how long it take. 10 minutes. Ooh, I don't know without checking it properly. So it's coming up as 10 minutes now. So that's 20 minutes. Some trips might not have quite enough to do it. Leave it with us. We will add it to the list.
Yes.
Let's see what can be done. We'll look at the
My first reaction was let's watch the reliability first, but I've been asked to raise it, so
something worth looking at. Yeah,
I think that's prudent, Tony. I think that's very prudent. Okay. Right. I presume that's a legacy hand, David. We'll go with that. So
I guess yes. So I think the only other ones we got is the 126. Punctuality's been done on all days. Some journeys have moved slightly, but no real change to anything. And the 20 does its normal drop down to the winter hourly service, I think at the end of the half term, end of the summer holidays. And that covers everything from us in Somerset.
Thank you. So moving on to the next operator. Who wants to jump in? Who have we got? Oh, John.
Hi, Richard. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm John Perry. I'm the Service Manager for Transporting Somerset. Not timetable changes as such, but I thought it would just be worth in this section mentioning that we've got some retendering going on for September. So as we've mentioned before, with our tenders, what we're trying to do is line them up with the new change dates. So we've been tweaking some of our tenders, bringing some forward, pushing some back to try and get all these things lined up. We've got a few tenders coming up in September. There are no timetable changes as such. There'll be a little bit of tweaking where operators have suggested to us there is a punctuality problem, but we're not making any changes to these services as such. Obviously, as everyone's aware, we have financial constraints at the moment, so we can't improve these services or do anything extra, but we're not making any reductions or cuts either. So I'll just run through the list very quickly of the services that are up for tender, and these will all start on the 2nd of September along with everything else. But currently out to tender is the 10C from Stanchester School to Taunton, which is a college run, so one journey in, one journey back. The 51, the Stokes and Gregory into Taunton, that's currently out to tender. The 62 from Weston down to Bridgewater College, that's obviously a college journey. And the 66 from Axbridge to Bridgewater College, that's out to tender as well. We've got the 624 from Chard to Bridgewater College, again, another college journey. And 646 and 647, which run through Wincanton to Strode College, they're currently out to tender. A bigger timetable, the 667 Wincanton to Street, that's up for re-tender at the moment. And finally, the 652, which runs from Stokes-upon-Hendon to Strode College. That's a college day only bus. The only other service that we're looking at the moment is the 12 in Taunton, and that's around a funding issue which is to do with Section 106 money. So that money is running out. We know there are further developments planned, and we've been asked by the parish council and local councillors to look at a way of stretching that funding to try and bridge the gap between the end of the current agreement and the start of further development in that area. So we're looking at reducing the timetable in order to eke the money out, if you like, over a longer period of time, so that the service doesn't disappear and then reappear. We'll try and keep it going, but it will be on a reduced level. And just one other thing I am aware of is that Stagecoach have told us they want to make some very minor time changes to the 24 service, which comes up from Tiverton early in the morning to start the park and ride. So it's really a registered positioning journeys. So 3 buses come up from Tiverton in the morning and they go back in the evening. They just want to make some very minor changes to the timetables in the light of operating. So just tighten those up a bit and make them a bit more reliable. And those are the only other changes I'm aware of. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for John? David, is that a legacy hand, or do you want to ask a question? David Dredgewell. I'm guessing that that's a that will be a. So, I mean, who have we got? We got Peter from South West Coaches. Who else have we got on the call? Is there any other operators with any other changes? I'll take that as a no. So next on the agenda will be the update on the £1.50 fare and the national £2 fare. Who wants to take that? Or I think First had a bit of a dabble at that at the beginning. No? Anybody? John?
We got no further update at the moment, just to say that obviously the £1 fare went in recently, £1.50 fare went in recently, and I think, as Rebecca said earlier, there hasn't been any significant impact of that change. We're managing to maintain roughly the same numbers of people travelling. And on the £2 fare, obviously that continues for the time being until December, and we'll wait to see what happens with that going forward. But all operators in the county, pretty much everybody, is still obviously offering that £2 fare. And as a result, over the period of time that's been in place, we have seen, I think overall, it's roughly sitting at about 18-19% improvement in patronage as a result of the introduction of that across the county as a whole. So it's doing well, and it continues, and it's popular.
Good.
Yep.
And just on the changes that have been brought today, it has to be noted that we've been very impressed the way operators have come to us with the major changes, and so we've had sight of it, and that's excellent work from everybody here, and it just gives us a good chance to go over things with a fine tooth comb before it goes out. So good work from everyone. Right, in that case, we'll go on to the update from the bus user group. Peter.
Thanks, Richard. I'm Peter Travis, Chair of the Somerset Bus Partnership. The primary role for bus user groups in an enhanced partnership should be to feed back on bus routes, identifying problems and commenting on proposed changes to timetables. And I think credit, to echo what Richard says, credit goes firstly to Somerset Council, who we are in fairly regular dialogue with, but the real breakthrough has been the willingness of First South and First West of England to engage with us. And now we're in pretty regular conversations with the likes of Terence James and other colleagues, Dan Ashworth and his colleagues, talking about the changes that are being proposed, picking up on some of the existing issues. Now, it's not that we endorse the bus routes as they stand. There are many changes we would like to see made, but bus operators, their reason for being is to make money. And so we have to operate within that constraint. But operating within that constraint, I think members of the Somerset Bus Partnership have noted the willingness of both, particularly those two operators, to sit down and explore options and see what can be done. They've listened to proposals we've put forward, and in some cases have been able to accept them and institute them. So that's very good news. So many thanks, particularly to First South and First West of England for that. However, in the Somerset Council area, bus users have a lot more to do than in neighbouring authorities or anywhere else in England. Somerset Bus Partnership and its now a dozen or more bus user groups across Somerset also distribute bus timetables to the many bus users who rely and need them. So far this year, we have held 40 bus stalls across Somerset. That's far, far more than any other happens in any other local authority in England. And we've currently got plans to hold in total this year 80 bus stalls. A major number will be during the September bus timetable change. It is strange that passengers, customers actually are out there promoting the services that they use, but we recognise that it's in our interest to do that, because otherwise some of those services might not be viable and therefore wouldn't be there to serve people. So why do we do it? We do it to provide bus users with the printed bus timetables that they need. Bus users queue up at our bus stalls. Richard's been on a number of them. So have quite a few of the bus operators, particularly First South and Hatch Green, have attended our bus stalls and just seen just how much bus users need to have printed bus timetables. Everybody talks about online services are great, but only if you happen to have online access, and you can get online access at the bus stop where you are. So some of the bus operators do print timetables for us. And so we act as a distribution agents, getting those timetables into the hands of people who need them. The most notable example is First South with their excellent Buses of Somerset booklet. They give us 1,000 or more of those, and we make sure that they are distributed, and they're like gold dust. People are desperate to get their hands on it. First West of England print selectively some timetables for us on certain really key routes, and we're very grateful for that. Also, Fairsaver, Southwest Coaches and Hatch Green produce timetables, and we distribute those in the areas where they operate at those local bus stalls which we run. But Somerset Bus Partnership itself has printed and distributed over 20,000 timetables already this year. That is an enormous number that we are printing to help promote bus routes. And that printing isn't funded by the bus operators. It's not funded by Somerset Council. Somerset Bus Partnership has to raise funds to support that exercise. Getting information to bus users is a unique challenge in Somerset. Across the Somerset Council area, the upcoming September timetable changes will see most information at bus stops either not there, or sadly it will be out of date information when those changes come in. In neighbouring authorities, the council takes responsibility for ensuring timetables at bus stops are correct and correctly updated. And it's interesting to see that many of those bus services coming in from the West of England Combined Authority, the buses which go through their council area will have promptly updated new timetables for all the changes that First West of England are making at bus stops. But as soon as they come into the Somerset council area, there will not be. And even the April changes, in many cases, those bus timetables still haven't been updated. So there is a big job to be done. There is also a job to warn bus users that there will be changes this September, and it's important, and I've raised this with First South already, need to raise it with First West of England, that particularly those major operators alert the media, as well as social media, to the changes that are going to come in on the 1st and 2nd of September. We need to make it a media event. We need to make forewarn customers, bus users, regular bus users, that they shouldn't just go to the bus stop as usual at the beginning of September, expecting their bus to turn up as it has done for the last 6 months. They need to be made aware that that bus time could be changing, and they need to find out what that new bus time will be. On the 1st and 2nd of September, we'll be holding 20 or more bus stalls across the Somerset area, particularly focusing on first group bus routes. So it is important that we warn people that September is only a twice a year event, but it's a very significant event. Bus times are changing. We need the media to help us alert people to that reality. And we will continue and will enjoy working with the bus operators, particularly the first group bus operators, to try and improve the communication of bus times. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you for that, Peter. I think that you said a lot, and I think it very, very much taken on board. Just got Tony who wants to jump in. And David. Okay, so Tony first.
Yes, second everything that Peter has said. I don't think I can let this meeting go by without mentioning the new Somerton Slinky route. It is a major change since the last meeting. I think very strongly about it, that it will work, and it will only work if we publicise it. I know a lot has been done by Somerset Council. It's out there on Facebook, it's out on social media, it's been in the press. I know the leaflets have been circulated to all the parishes and small villages. Peter said to me the other day, it's another small village I'd never heard of. Well, yes, that's what this is doing, is connecting up the small villages that many of us have not heard of or not known well. I said before, everything I have read says these DRT services only really work if we actually use them to build communities in each of the villages, to get people to change their minds about using cars for local journeys and trying to use buses. So I welcome the introduction of the Slinky service. I know it's limited, I know it's a trial, but we only have 2 years, and then we have to think about where we get the money from, who we persuade to put up the money, and we need to be able to shout that it's successful. So I'm doing what I can to make it successful. I'm going to try and go out tomorrow and see how many Slinky buses I can get on. And we've got 2 or 3 more events in some of the local villages. So I want to highlight the fact that I think it was a great idea. It is, like all DRT services, subject to incredible pressures, and there are so many services that haven't worked. I read another one yesterday about a system that didn't seem to work because the app didn't work properly and the communication with the drivers wasn't working properly, and that's what I should be looking for tomorrow and looking at with other people. There are so many things to go wrong. It's a new service, it's a new supplier to us, it's a new software company, but I still say congratulations for getting the money and for making it work.
Can I just make a recommendation that you write to the papers, Tony, about your lovely experiences you're going to have tomorrow visiting all the villages on the Slinky bus. Maybe a letter to the Gazette would help go down very well.
Thank you for the reminder. I shall put things on social media as well.
Now it's a bit unusual to have a question of the bus partnership, but I think I'm going to allow David to just come in.
Yeah, no, it's a point that I think the bus partnership's been pushing. We've all been pushing, and that is, well, just out first of all, welcome the new buses on the Yeovil link, Richard, the bus rail links between the Yeovil stations, because they're now wheelchair accessible and they're much bigger, and really good news for passengers to get the bus revamped to Yeovil Penmill. But that's the one side. I think Great West is looking at that. Now, what I wanted to talk about really was a thing that Peter's raised, I've raised, Tony's raised, David, who's on the call as well, and particularly Rosa. We had a manager come down from Bath, and very grateful, Dan, for him putting up all the timetables in Wells bus station. But at the moment, the Somerset bus timetables stop at the Baines, North Somerset borders. So the issue really is about trying to get that bus information on those stops, first South and first West of England, to make sure that we got good publicity on all the flags between Taunton and Bridgewater, Yeovil and Frome and Bath. And I have been out looking, and I am concerned there's a number of out-of-date timetables down that do need to come down. Now, the Act of Parliament is 2017, and it's Somerset jointly with First and the other operators. So passenger information is very important.
Let's bring Dan in at this point.
Okay.
All I'm saying is we have now bought the paper to do it, so we're printing them off this week, so they should start going up this week.
Thank you.
We've got Dan. Paper. We need you to print, and we'll find some lovely.
And the only other point I wanted to raise, Dan. I mean, I'm very grateful that Wiltshire's paying South West Coaches, their subsidiary Beeline, to run the Salisbury route from Frome. It's brilliant. We've got a link to Salisbury from Frome and from Bath to Frome. But Dan, can we tell the people at Bath that you can actually travel through? I was in the bus station, and we used to have a timetable that said you could connect through to Salisbury via Warminster. But equally, there's another good link via the D2, D2X, changing it to Frome. So it's just about publicity again. Yeah, that's the point. That's it. That's all it was.
Write an email, okay?
Yeah, I'll copy you in, Richard.
All right. Okay. Well, I think that's that for that. So any other business? That's my next question. I'll take that as no. So date of the next meeting is scheduled to be on Tuesday, the 15th of October. So if everybody can put that in their diaries. And like I say, once again, it's good that we're all working together to get the best results for the travellers of Somerset and beyond. So let's keep this up. I mean, there's a lot, as Peter has said, there's a lot of work still to do. But yeah, I think we are getting there. So I think who gets sent an invite link? That's a good question. Sorry, a question just come up in the chat from
well, the
Emily
invite,
Taylor.
The invite is obviously, the meeting is publicised on the website, Richard. So obviously you just click on that link that's on the website and it'll bring you to the meeting. Is that what the question was?
I think so.
Mm-hmm. We don't
there
send
we
them
go.
out as such. They oh right, yeah, we don't send them out as such. It just gets publicised along with the agenda on the web page of the council website. Okay.
Okay, well, thanks very much. And on that note, I think I'll draw the meeting to a close. And thank you all for attending.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Bye bye.
Thanks, Richard.
Bye.